Sometimes you jump into something because you're not good at it. Challenge and desire. You don't have to think you're already great at something to want to do it and to enjoy doing it. Business, mindset, and leadership. Dweck says a company that cannot self-correct cannot thrive. She also says effective leaders have the growth mindset. They believe in human development. They don't constantly try to prove they're better than others, don't undermine efforts of others, or take credit for their contributions. Instead, they constantly try to improve. Fixed mindset leaders live in a world where some people are superior and some are inferior. They must repeatedly affirm they are superior, and the company becomes the platform for it. Rather than putting energy into developing their employees, they need to display superiority, and their companies suffer for it. True self-confidence, she says, is the courage to be open, to welcome change and new ideas, regardless of their source. Self-confidence is not reflected in a title, a suit, or a fancy car, but in your mindset, your own readiness to grow. Within organizations, growth mindset groups or teams are more likely to state honest opinions and express disagreements, and everyone is part of the learning process. In fixed mindset groups studied, open and productive discussion did not happen, and something like groupthink took place. Groupthink can happen if a group gets carried away by its superiority. A growth mindset group relieves people of the illusions of fixed ability, which supports full and open discussion and enhanced decision-making. A workforce of people who need constant reassurance and don't handle criticism well is not conducive to success. Success requires taking on challenges and showing persistence. Your team needs to practice admitting and correcting mistakes to succeed. You can do your part as a leader by creating a growth mindset environment in the workplace. Here are 4 strategies. Present skills as learnable. Convey that the organization values learning and perseverance, not just ready-made genius or talent. Give feedback in a way that promotes learning and future success. And position managers as resources for learning. Most managers and CEOs become bosses, not leaders. Similarly, organizations that believe in natural talent don't look for people with the potential to develop. Go the other way and create an organization that values the development of ability and watch leaders begin to grow. Changing mindsets. Mindsets guide how we interpret everything. The mindset you have at any given time creates an internal dialogue focused on judging incoming information. With a fixed mindset, researchers found people showed strong opinions on each and every piece of incoming information, where something good led to a positive label and something bad to a negative one. On the other side, people with a growth mindset faced with potential good or bad information ask, "What can I learn from this?" or "How can I improve?" Mindset change is not about picking up a few pointers here and there, but about seeing things in a new way. Take willpower. It is not something you have or don't have. Willpower needs maintenance, and change must be supported. Use strategy, planning, and think actively about maintenance. During a setback, use a growth mindset and ask, "What can I learn from this? What will I do next time?" When you drop the good, bad, strong, weak thinking that comes with a fixed mindset, you can use strategy for self-control. It also helps to shift from a judge and be judged framework to a learn and help learn framework found on page 245. Along with this, ask these questions. What are the opportunities for learning and growth today? For myself, for the people around me? When, where, and how will I embark on my plan? When you succeed, ask, what do I have to do to maintain and continue the growth? Our review of Mindset by Carol Dweck focused on the mindsets and on workplace applications. The book is filled with research, stories, and case studies that back up a powerful idea, the growth mindset, and the potential impact implementing it can have on all aspects of your life. It is an idea big enough to change a life, and for that reason alone, pick up this book. Thank you for watching, and let us know what you think.
But the next person we're going to bring up here, looking forward to this for a while, especially for this interview, specifically because you want to talk to people who have already done what we are aiming to do in a different industry. And when you look at different businesses, whether it's a movement, whatever it is, technology, there are certain things that do not change, and those are principles. When he got started back in the days with Apple, he was the brains of that company. He was the guy that came, who knew how to produce the products, who knew how to put the things together. He got started with the ideas, created the computers. From there until today, he is a legend. I mean, he is like the Michael Jordan in the industry of tech things. They prefer to have a chance to ask for this man's advice. This is who that guy is in that world. Did incredible things, and the question I asked last night is, what would the world be without Apple? Think about it. I have an iPhone here. I have an iPad here. We have a bunch of Mac computers in the back. We got iPods all over the place. What would the world be without Apple? Think about that. If not about him and what he's done in the industry.
I didn't realize that the alarm clock in my room had got set 4 hours advanced. So I woke up real early this morning. You speak, and the speaker we had, and the whole event and the awards. I have been to a lot of galas and award events for companies. I have never been to one as good as that. And watching you, I mean, I'm just totally sold, because, you know, what you have to do, you're talking about, it's that drive and wanting to do something to make a difference, and you really bring that out in everyone yourself, so.
Absolutely. So why don't we start off all the way to the back on how the whole thing got started? I mean, why don't you just tell us how the story on how it got started from the idea to it being where it's at now?
Sure. Yeah, I grew up so advanced in electronics and computers that I couldn't afford anything, had no money, but I could design any computer there was in the world in just a couple of days. And I just did it for fun. It was a hobby, and I wanted my own computer. I told my dad at one point I got to design them. I had no college degree, but they interviewed me, and I knew so much about it all that they hired me anyway. And while I was doing that, I was designing all sorts of little projects, the video games and terminals that I could talk to computers across the country. And finally, I realized the formula, the day had come when you could buy low enough cost memory chips, low enough microprocessors that did enough. I figured out in my head the formula to building an affordable computer. And I said, wow, this is what I've wanted for 10 years. I've got it. I'm here.
And so how did that lead to you and Steve? I guess the question would be, how did you guys...
Steve was a very good friend. 5 years before Apple even, we met because I had designed one computer and some executive gave me some chips to build it. And I was building it at a friend's house, and the friend introduced me to Steve. He said, both of you guys know digital electronics. So Steve came over and described projects he did at Hewlett-Packard, building frequency counters that had displays of digits, counting frequencies of things like guitar chords or whatever. And I told him what I had done, all my experience, and I was sort of like the top young designer you could ever run into in the times. And Steve was he was a leader. He was always trying to be one of those special few people in the world, the few that take the steps forward, and a Newton. He spoke of Newton and Shakespeare and things like that. And I know that he really wanted to be one of those people, but he wanted to find formulas to have. Time I designed something really cute, Steve would come by and say, I know how we can sell it. So we were always a partnership selling my little projects.
But the whole thing got started. I read the story about how you guys had this project under...
Telephone long distance. My third year of college at Berkeley, I read an article that I thought was just the most amazing fiction story ever about these clever engineers that were smarter than the engineers in the phone company, and they could set up their own little networks and find the bugs in the system and help Ma Bell correct them, and it was kind of honorable the way I read it. And Steve and I called Steve up halfway through the article and started reading it to him, and I said, there's something wrong. This article sounds too real. Like real people, like real frequencies they're telling us about. We went down to a scientific library that day. I was going to start classes at college the next day. We went down to Stanford Linear Accelerator Center. And in those days, it was the high-end physics research place of the world. Smart people always leave doors unlocked. That's one thing I found. So we would drive in and we'd always find, and bringing people's attention to this. My own phone calls, I would pay for them. I wouldn't use it to save money. But I liked exploring the network and being able to convince a Tokyo operator that I was a New York operator and get her to put it over to London and around the world. And I'd call one phone and speak in one phone and come out the other one a second later. It was very weird back then.
This is what I heard. Now, this is a story I heard. I heard you were a prankster. A lot of times you hear stories and you think people are so serious to build...
Or you learn software. You're one or the other. I did it all. I did the whole hardware. I wrote the computer program.